Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Print Newsroom. I'm Anisha Bedi. Well, across India, this time around, Diwali usually brings festive cheer, but well, in Delhi, it also brings toxic air. Clearly, dense smog has engulfed the national capital once again. Of course, things got pretty grave during the weekend, where people actually didn't step out because the air quality, was severe and had almost gone up to as high as over 650, in fact, which actually prompted, several policy measures. One of them being the odd-even scheme, which kicked off in the national time and started today. In fact, that's the question that we're going to be addressing in the Print live today, as to whether the odd even Monday and odd numbers on the subsequent day. Of course, today it started with vehicles with even numbers were allowed to commute. Of course, there are certain exceptions, as we all know, including two-wheelers, women who are traveling all by themselves, also with children below the age group of 12 years, those in uniform will also be exempted, medical emergencies. Also, cab aggregators such as Uber, Ola have been exempted from the scheme. Of course, it's important to remember that vehicles from other states will also have to abide by the scheme as strictly. Otherwise, those violating will have to, a fine of 4,000 will be imposed on them. Went on a carpool with Health Minister Satinder Jain and Labour Minister Gopal Rai, and left his house in 10:30 and arrived and left for the Delhi Secretariat. Similarly, the Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia as well, who said that his vehicle number is an odd number, decided to be on a bicycle and cycle his way to the Delhi Secretariat. Of course, that's the political angle, and of course, there were one or two more controversies which I'll come to later. But now focusing, on the environmental angle, given that air pollution, of course, has been very, very severe, Mohana. And it's too soon to say whether the odd-even scheme this year will manage to have an impact or not. But of course, Mohana, we have seen what happened the last two times, and several studies have been conducted, including those by IIT Delhi and University of Chicago. What was the result of those?
Anisha, at the impact of odd even scheme on pollution, because let's remember that it's very difficult to differentiate what percentage of the PM 2.5 is coming. But there has been a study in the journal called Current Science last year, where it showed that there was actually a spike in pollution levels during these days when odd and even was followed, because commuters were rushing to use the cars that they had in the hours that were not under restriction, like from 7 to 8 a.m. I believe at that time they would just rush to their work to avoid that restriction. And also the sales of used cars actually went up. So basically, Delhiites found ways to, work in spite of having that odd and even scheme and get more cars for themselves. So, according to that study, if we go by that study, it showed that it did not actually help. And in fact, if you look at what Kejriwal himself has been saying, and what the data from the the Ministry of Earth Sciences monitoring body, that also has showed that the spike happens due to the stubble burning. And that's what Kejriwal has been talking about constantly as well. So in that case, the odd and even scheme does seem to be too little, because again, as you said, that the number of restrictions that are there actually effectively reduces the number of cars that are actually removed from the road. So how much it actually helps on ground
remains to be seen.
Exactly.
Mohana, since you mentioned how stubble burning and other such, even construction sites, etc., continue to be a contributing factor. Of course, the focus has again been on stubble burning, and we've again been time and again been highlighting how it's become a political issue as well, with Punjab and Haryana in the domain as well. In fact, Captain Amrinder, Chief Minister of Punjab, yesterday issued 2 statements saying that several FIRs have been registered, against farmers who are engaging in this, and other measures are on as well. Yet, of course, there is this counter approach as to how stubble burning is not quite really responsible. Of course, with assembly elections around the corner in 2020, this has been a talking point. Environmentally and scientifically speaking, where does the debate really end?
Right. Again, we have to look at what our source of data right now is the government's monitoring body, that is SUFFER, right? So now they track this through satellite images. They track the stubble burning counts. They track that smoke plume that travels down, the entire Indo-Gangetic plain. So if you look at that, yes, that is, they themselves are saying is, contributing to almost 30%, up to 30%. It's lesser on some days, it's more on some days. So, but apart from that, the rest of the pollution is coming from within the city. So there have been studies showing that, it's the dust particles from construction sites, it's the vehicular pollution. You have to remember that there are, throughout the year, there are at least, according to some estimates, 30 lakh car users, and, around, I think, 6 million two-wheeler users, right? So it's a year-round thing. Year-round, we are adding pollutants to the city. It's only during this time that it goes beyond, the severe level, because you have that additional.
I have a question as well from Sunita, and something that comes to my mind. We have to address it as a larger issue. It's really not a issue. Unfortunately, the focus continues to be on the national capital, but a lot of cities and places in and around the national capital, in fact, whole of northern India has been, severely affected. But again, I think a lot of people out there have this question that why is it that during this time of the year, of course, it's obvious to understand that, there's bursting of crackers around Diwali, but with each passing year, we do see some people, people are becoming more sensitive about it. Is there also another reason as to why something like this is on the rise always this time of the year? And why are we never prepared to handle it?
Why we are never prepared?
I think that's an answer we're still figuring out.
Exactly. So let me come to why it happened. This is the season where the harvesting of the rice crop, and farmers are preparing for the next crop, right? And they have a very short time span to actually remove that stubble. And this is a problem that has, started within the last 1 decade, because now the farmers are forced to actually rely on monsoons for their irrigation. They are no longer allowed to, in Punjab and Haryana, to irrigate their farms using groundwater. So which is why the cropping season has shifted for them. Monsoons are also delayed. So they have to very quickly remove that stubble that is left behind. And this is a very, this is more seen in Punjab and Haryana, because these legislations, that is one thing. Now, the second thing, the meteorological conditions are also not in our favor, right? So we have winds that are blowing from that side towards the Indo-Gangetic plain. So it is not just steady. There are cities, Lucknow and, all the way, all of UP, and there are satellite images that show that there are plumes all over that area. So the entire place is facing this problem during this duration because it's the harvest season. Secondly, the weather conditions in terms of it's starting to get cold now, right? So we have a lot more accumulation because the air cannot rise and the pollutants usually disperse. That's why we see less pollution during summer days. So that is also an issue. So these are two factors that actually aggravate the situation. But it's not that Delhi is clean air throughout the rest of the year. We are still polluted, but during this time we can see it. Our eyes can feel it, our throats can feel it.
Yeah, and it's almost, I think, forcing a group of distraught people to actually say we want to leave this city. But of course, how easy that is or not is another thing. Ritvik Gupta has another question in terms of whether the Supreme Court is doing something about this or not. Well, absolutely, that's one of the things that we wanted to address in the process of this live. Of course, course, there was a hearing in the before the Supreme Court today. Justice Arun Mishra, particularly, we'll divide this answer into two parts. I'll talk about what was discussed as far as the odd even scheme is concerned, and perhaps Mohina here could elaborate on air pollution. So Justice Arun Mishra actually was quite critical about the odd even scheme as well. He in fact as to what is the odd even thing, what is this odd even thing, what is the purpose behind it. Autos and cars will ply and emit gases as they do. What will this achieve? In response to this, the Delhi Council actually said that autos and taxis are on CNG, to which Justice Mishra actually said that if people are hiring third-rate vehicles and travel same distance, what really is the object? This is where Justice Deepak Gupta, in fact, responded saying, mostly empty, no one wants to use the metro to airport. And he even pointed out saying that when he joined the court, he said, I'm quoting him verbatim, when I joined this court, you said 3,000 buses will be on Delhi roads in 3 years. Now, only solution is moving from single-use to mass transport. So I think this is, of course, a part of the hearing that I'm narrating to you. But more than that, I think it's also important to highlight that the number of buses on, the DTC buses on the road also has continued to be, debated as to whether the AAP-led government in Delhi has managed to actually bring about enough, DTC buses on the road or not. In fact, over 800 have been put on the road today, but Kejriwal has been telling several news agencies since morning that in the next 2 days, they're expected to go up to 2,000 so as, to handle the whole scheme, etc. Would you like to elaborate on the bit about air pollution as
right.
well?
Let us remember that stubble burning is actually banned. Okay, we still see more than 2,000 counts of fires that are spotted by satellite data. So the court actually asked why it is still happening despite it being banned, and it has now put the onus of responsibility on all the authorities to make sure that it happens right up to the Gram Panchayat. So it said that action of burning is punishable and violation of various provisions of various acts, and adjoining states of Punjab, Haryana and UP, all of these collectors, tehsildars and all the police machinery is supposed to ensure that no stubble burning actually takes place, and if any violation happens, the entire administrative machinery would be held responsible. So let's hope that making them accountable will actually perhaps bring down this. It's already too late this year. But maybe for next year we'll have a more effective system in place.
Ayush Patodia asks, doesn't it have more to do with stubble burning than vehicular pollution? I think we've already answered that in portions a while ago. Ashwini Sharma has two questions. I'll take one for the time being. When plenty of research has proved that construction work, stubble burning, etc. are the main cause of Delhi's air pollution, why every year this odd even scheme returns? Is it just a political move? Well, I think the first part of the question Mohana's again answered for you. Well, yes, as far as talking about is it just a political move, I think that's what the debate has been around. It'll be unfair to say if it is only a political move, of course, but it has unfortunately reduced to being, titled or named as a political gimmick, because of course, with the Delhi Assembly election slated for February 2020, the blame game has begun. Of course, the AAP-led government still can talk about certain measures that they have been trying to introduce. The odd even scheme, in fact, was one of their initiatives, which was first, implemented in 2016. However, we, hear Arvind Kejriwal also come on record and say that, the Delhi government or the Aam Aadmi Party has been doing as much as they can, but perhaps we expect more cooperation from the ministers of Punjab and Haryana in terms of ensuring stubble burning is stopped. So, of course, I think the politics of it does stay in the picture. In fact, I'd like to quote one such incident from today, which did, grab headlines, and that particular video played out on channels this morning. BJP parliamentarian Vijay Goyal, in fact, in protest, tweeted out and even said that, I will not actually abide or I will oppose the odd even scheme, and that's my way of expressing protest, and which is when he and another BJP leader actually stepped out in their vehicles with an odd number, which is when they were challaned by the Delhi police. And in response to this, however, I think the Aam Aadmi Party decided to handle it with, a certain amount of sarcasm. The Environment and Transport Minister, Kailash Gehlot, actually reached the BJP leader's house with a bouquet of roses and said that kindly, we request you to follow the odd and even policy. And we actually saw, a public confrontation between the two leaders. You can watch this video on the Print website. We're carrying a video package with the same. So, of course, I think this is another instance of how the entire issue has unfortunately, as I said, has developed a political narrative as well. And as for whether the odd even scheme this year will reduce pollution or not, as I said, it's only the first day. Mohana here shared anecdotes or certain details from the studies in the past, but perhaps we'll have a better idea, a week from now when the odd even scheme actually culminates. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such analysis. Until then, keep watching. This is Mohana Basu, my colleague, and I'm Anisha Bedi. Thanks for watching.